No. For a lady that's dragging the garment is fine, and it happened in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There you are. Go ahead.
You said that blood and pus is excused in prayer, but not in
water. Yeah, typically, and that's typically.
What does that mean? It's excused?
That means like if you have a nosebleed and it drops in a bucket of water, you can't make wudu from it.
Yeah.
However, if you have a cut and a little bit of it gets on your clothing, you can pray in that clothing. If it's your own or other than your own, if it's a small quantity, it's excused, unless it's from a dog or a pig.
And then you said a baby's spit up is impure, so all vomit is impure?
Yes. However, there's a detail. The question was baby's vomit is impure, or spit up is impure, so is all vomit impure? The answer is yes. However, there's a detail there that it's come from the stomach. So like a baby, if they regurgitate milk just from high up in their throat, and Allah knows best, that isn't necessarily impure. And that happens a lot with nursing babies. You didn't know where it came from, but if it comes from the stomach, it's definitely impure, and Allah knows best. So now he's going to give us, as we said when we started this, when we initially started the subject of najasa, we gave a definition. We defined it by mentioning its definition. And also we said, though, the better way to define najasa, because types of filth, is by just listing them, because their number is limited. And now he's going to mention a list of filth. Prior to mentioning this list, we want to mention a point. We've talked about how to purify things from filth. However, we haven't talked about how things become impure because of filth. And basically, we did discuss this with respect to water in the first lesson related to water in the beginning of purity, that if we're certain that a small quantity of water has become contacted with filth, by filth coming to the water that wasn't excused, and we're certain of the contact, that renders the water impure. However, we haven't talked about how dry objects become impure. And basically, this list of impure substances, of filth, of najasa, if one of these things comes in contact with something else and either side is moist, then it transfers the ruling of impurity from the impure substance to the other thing. So like this coat that I'm wearing is dry, right? So if a dog were to come up and may Allah protect this garment, if a dog were to come up and lick my coat, right, that would render my coat impure, because dogs are impure, as we'll see in a moment, and there was contact between the dog and my coat with moisture on either side. However, if a dog walked by me and brushed up against me, there's not moisture on either side, provided it's not raining or the dog's not wet or something. So that does not actually transfer the ruling of impurity. So they say that a dry object with a dry object will not transfer filth, and there's no difference concerning that. احفظ هذا احفظي هذا الجاف مع الجافي لا ينجس بلا خلاف. فهمت؟ الجاف مع الجاف لا ينجس بلا خلاف. A dry object touching a dry object will not transfer filth without doubt. So like you walk over something impure or a dog or whatever, as long as it's dry, meaning there's no like perceptible moisture, then you're straight. So then what are these types of filth that will transfer? First of all, he's going to mention a couple things that are always pure. And we should know that, like, in terms of physical objects, from one point of view, we can categorize them as solids, or just say inanimate objects, and animals, right? We could also divide plants into its own category, but here we're just talking about, inanimate objects, including plants there, and animals. All inanimate objects, our initial assumption is that they're pure except for those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has informed us are impure because they were created for our benefit. And Allah taught us in the Quran that He created everything in the heavens and the earth for your benefit from Himself, subhanahu. So objects, wood, stone, carpet, cotton, whatever, except the likes of this list with, in bigger books they'll mention a few more things, but excluding those things that Allah came along and informed us of their impurity, we assume initially that all objects are pure.
Just in terms of the example we gave, like the dog looking at a jacket. So just to purify impure things, it's the same for everything. In terms of purifying something that's impure. So your jacket, for instance, how would you purify it? Just washing it off?
We'll come back to that. In the case, the question was, if a dog makes your jacket impure, are all things purified the same way? And would you just wash your coat off? And the answer is no. Actually, in the case of a dog, you have to wash it in a special way, but that's coming after we cover the list of impurities, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah ta'ala, either tonight or tomorrow night, but hopefully tonight we'll mention that. La ilaha illallah, khair. So, inanimate objects, by that we mean solids and plants. All of them are pure, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us otherwise, or His messenger. We call the two of them Ash-Shari', the legislator, the lawgiver, the ones who informs us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws. And then our author is going to mention the list, we'll read it over, and then come back over it. And he said, وَالْحَيَوَانُ كُلُّهُ طَاهِرٌ إِلَّا الْكَلْبَ وَالْخِنْزِيرَ وَمَا تَوَلَّدَ مِنْهُمَا أَوْ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَالْمَيْتَةُ كُلُّهُ نَجِسٌ إِلَّا السَّمَكُ وَالْجَرَادُ وَالْآدَمِ. And this is a longer list that we want to add from this text, inshallah ta'ala. So our author here says, or our translator here says, 1.9.2, animals. And you could also put a note on this. Here we're going to cover a list of impure things. He says, all animals are pure except for dogs, pigs, and the offspring of both of them or one of them with a pure animal. Dead animals which have not been slaughtered are filth except for fish, locusts, and human beings. So he mentioned just animals, but again, we're getting ready to go into a whole bunch of things. So, a list of impure things. La ilaha illallah. So first of all, he said that animals are pure, and those are pure except for dogs and pigs. And Imam Shafi'i, actually we're going to go into why they're major filth later. Dogs, actually no, it's mentioned here. Dogs are impure because the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith of Muslim that one of your vessels, or the vessel of one of you, if a dog has licked it, is purified by washing it 7 times, the first of which with earth. So it has to be purified by 7 times by washing with earth. The cleanest part of a dog is its mouth. So if that's how dirty its mouth is, the rest of it is considered impure a forte, they say, or is even more likely to be impure. That was Imam Shafi'i's understanding. Other imams differ, and perhaps in these parts you got to be aware of those imams. Otherwise, you may not be able to visit family and friends. In the view of Imam Malik, dogs are pure, and one washes vessels that are licked by them 7 times, just out of like ta'abbudi. It's out of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, they're pure animals. And you might want to visit family on the Maliki school. But if you're good with filth, and you know, or at this chapter, and you know how to know that certainty is not removed by doubt, and you just don't let it lick you, the likelihood is you're going to remain pure anyway. But you could remember Imam Malik's position just so you don't have to be so stiff and uptight when you visit your family that it comes in the way of a more important obligation of inviting them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then pigs are by a qiyas from dogs. So that pig's state is worse than dogs, and you're not allowed to own them in any case. Whereas dogs, there's exceptions where you're allowed to keep them without without it being unmeritorious. So if dog's state is worse than pigs, if pig's state is worse than dogs, and dogs are that impure, then the Shafi'i jurist viewed pigs as being similarly that impure. However, Imam an-Nawawi, in his own choices, which are outside of the school, but they're just his views, he didn't view that there was a strong position saying that pig filth was major filth. And actually that's a second position in the Shafi'i school that's strong enough to follow, that pig filth is like all other normal filth and it doesn't have to be washed 7 times. And that's extremely beneficial if you live in a place where you're likely to come in contact with that. So there's, as we'll see, dogs and pigs have a special way to be purified. However, there's a second position in the Shafi'i school which is strong, and it's also the personal choice, the ikhtiyar of Imam an-Nawawi, that puts pigs at the same category